Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about two of my favorite characters, Diluc and Xiao, and go over some pros and cons of each one and give a recommendation of which one to use. Now then, let me first talk about the differences in the way you play both characters. So firstly we have Diluc, a very powerful pyro character who relies on his reactions in order to deal damage, with the two best being Melt and Vaporize, with Vaporize coming out ahead due to it being able to be triggered multiple times. And with this, you often see him paired with a Shinshu. Now then, how about Xiao? Well, Xiao plays a lot different due to him being a Nemo character, which he doesn't really rely on any reactions, and instead relies a lot on his burst, in which, while under the effects of said burst, he will deal crazy amounts of AoE Nemo damage by plunging down on the enemies, and is considered to be somewhat of a selfish DPS in that in order to deal good amounts of damage with Xiao, he's going to have to be on the field for a majority of the battle, compared to someone like Diluc, who's going to be switching characters more often in order to get different reactions and use different abilities. Now because Xiao is always going to be plunging, his AoE damage is crazy good, and you really see him shine in situations with a lot of enemies, as well as because he's always in the air, even though his burst does do damage to him. As long as you pair him with a shield character, possibly Zhongli, then he is also a relatively safe character compared to Diluc, who's a bit more better in the single target situations. And so because of these differences in the way they play, the way you build them, especially the parties, is also very different. As Diluc, as he relies more on the reactions, he's going to want to build his party very specific to that, whereas Xiao is a lot more flexible and can be pretty much run with anyone, although you probably want to prioritize the characters who can sort of act as batteries for Xiao so he can get to his burst really fast. Now in terms of flexibility when it comes to the parties, then probably Xiao would take it. In terms of how they both play, it's personal preference. I prefer Diluc, the way you're switching out characters and using their abilities rather than just use one throughout the fight, but that's just me. Now one thing I do want to mention is their elements. So as I mentioned before, Xiao is a Nemo, whereas Diluc is Pyro, which means when it comes to resonances, Diluc has easy access to the Pyro resonance, which grants the party 25% more attack, which is very good. And seeing as Bennett is the support most people are going to be running with him, you'll be able to get this very easy. Xiao instead has access to the Nemo resonance, which is also really good on Xiao, not only the CD reduction, but the movement speed that helps Xiao to get to position to plunge down on the enemy. Also because he is more flexible in the party he can fit into, you could also run two Pyro characters to get that 25% boost in attack, or another very popular resonance on Xiao is the Geo resonance, with two Geo characters that will help Xiao's damage when protected by a shield. But now then, let's go over each character a bit more closely. Firstly, they share the same Ascension stat of crit rate, which helps them quite a bit when they build their artifacts, as they don't have to worry about crit rate that much and can instead rely on building crit damage, which is really good. Moving on to the weapons, Xiao's best in slot is the Primordial Jade Winged Spear, which is an incredible spear that boasts crit rate, which helps Xiao, as with this and his Ascension stats, he pretty much doesn't need to worry about crit rate, whereas Diluc's best in slot is the Wolf's Gravestone, which gives Diluc a ton of attack, but no increase to his crit rate or crit damage. And so I feel that if there was a better 5-star claymore that offered crit rate or crit damage, it would be so good for Diluc. But yeah, they are both in the standard banner, as well as they feature occasionally in the featured weapon banner, so do be wary of that when they come out. Onto artifacts, Diluc runs a 4-piece Crimson Witch set, whereas Xiao is going to be running a 2-piece Viridescent Venera and a 2-piece Gladiators, or the new artifact set from Inazuma. Now with Diluc, you only have to run one domain to get a set and try to get lucky, whereas Xiao, you're going to have to run either 2 domains or one with a lucky boss drop. So give a slight edge to Diluc here due to only having to run one single domain over Xiao. But now in terms of their weapons, Xiao would probably be better, as he has a very valuable stat on his 5-star. Now how about their constellations? well, they are a big deal, especially for Xiao, as before C6, Diluc and Xiao are very competent 5 stars, with Xiao in terms of damage coming slightly ahead, but once you hit C6 Xiao, he becomes arguably the best DPS when dealing with multiple enemies due to just how insane his AoE damage gets with this constellation. Now for the majority of the players, we will probably never reach a C6 5 star, especially Xiao, as he isn't in the standard banner, so the only way to get him is to summon once he appears in the featured summon banner. But if you do have a C6 Xiao, then he will definitely out DPS a Diluc, all things considered. And that's not to say Diluc's constellations are bad, they definitely aren't, they're really good, but it's just a testament to how great C6 Xiao truly is. So we come to the question, Diluc versus Xiao, who is better? Well, in terms of pure DPS, I would probably give it to Xiao, especially during situations featuring multiple enemies, just because of how his burst works, with him plunging down on the enemies, dealing crazy amounts of damage, especially when it's C6. But at the same time, Diluc's a lot more accessible, with him appearing in the standard banner, as well as him being in the game since release, only requiring one domain to be farmed. But now the other question is, who's more fun? Well, Xiao has a lot of cool movement skills and a very cool looking burst, whereas Diluc's a lot more simpler with his kit, but does have more interaction with his party members. It's a lot more personal preference, and then there's also the character design, which I didn't mention. But now at the end of the day, you should play whichever one you want to, regardless of who does more damage, as all the content in the game can be easily cleared by both of them, and so whichever one you do choose, I hope you have fun. And if you don't have one of them, then I wish you all the best in summoning for them, and as always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.